of questions on notice. My area of interest obviously is how these changes impact service delivery to rural and regional Australians. One of the questions I'll be asking is the impact Ms Holgate's leadership had on service provision in rural and regional Australia and obviously your workforce in that space. So in your submission you do, and we've talked at length around issues relating to the alternate day delivery method, causing delays, reduced services. You've tabled a range of photos highlighting just undelivered mail and parcels stacking up in our community. So is it your evidence to us today that Australia Post is failing on its obligations as a public-owned entity to provide delivery services, guaranteed delivery services across Australia?
At the moment, Australia Post are failing the delivery service standards. They will say, oh, we're meeting our service delivery standards under the regulation at about, and I'll let them speak, but around 94 to 97%. We know that the letters that are tested to meet this regulation, they're a test letter. They're not the ordinary mail going to the Australian people. And they make sure these test letters are getting through the system that it meets the regulation, that it can then show the Australian people that it's all in order.
So what I've found when I question Telstra on their community service obligations, that Australians pay hundreds of millions of dollars to make sure they maintain landlines. Well, it's all right, Senator. We're meeting, 94% of our obligations, but it's the same 6% who never have their landline fixed and the inherent risk there.
As I was saying, Senator, they make sure this is only a test letter. It's not the ordinary mail gets tested.
Right, so I'll write them a range of questions.
They make sure that mail gets through. In rural and regional areas, and I'll come to Matty Dean. Matt's a postal delivery officer on the Central Coast who's classified as a regional area. As you know, there is regional areas caught up in this regulation change. Tweed Heads, I think it's Townsville, Geelong in Victoria, South Coast, Central Coast, and the Hunter region of New South Wales, including Port Stephens. Those areas are now no longer getting a daily delivery services, and when it comes to their second day delivery services, they're not even able to receive their mail or parcels on the day they're due. Our posties at these facilities are bringing product back, or they're not taking it out. They simply cannot do what they were doing for the community pre-ADM, where the product was delivered on a daily basis. On many days, they're unable to do it. And in other instances, the political mail or the UMS that customers are paying for are ending up in the bin. Ever since this ADM has commenced, and it's happening in regional areas, are ending up in the bin, and Australia Post are then having to reimburse the customer that they're paying for a service for because they simply can't deliver. This never occurred pre-ADM. Our people were able to deliver the mail, deliver the UMS, and deliver the parcels in rural and regional areas.
So this was never meant to impact rural and regional services.
Correct.
That was categorically put into this regulation. Your evidence to us today is it is impacting rural and regional services.
Correct.
Absolutely. Can I respond to that question? It became apparent Australia Post used a 1991 document to rezone the regional areas into the metropolitan areas. We were never part of Metro ever.
So sorry,
until these regulations came in.
So you're saying there is a definition of a region document that's based on 1991 data?
Correct. And it states anything over a population of 100,000 is considered metropolitan, and they've used that to throw all of us into the same net.
And just to add to Mr.
Well, heaven forbid we have growing regional capitals in this country.
Thank you.
That we would love to see. Many regional capitals more than 100,000.
Can I just ask Mr. Rayner?
That includes Bendigo.
Cessnock, the Hunter Valley, you name it.
Mr. Rayner, can I ask you to swap, please, with Ms Muscat? She wants to get in on this conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. So. CPSU must be heard.
Yes, bring them. We worked it out. We'd swap whenever they were needed.
They should.
We worked out.
I did ask for that.
Well, someone needs to go.
Yep. So I'm just going to swap Mr. Rayner and come in I don't know.
Thank you.
Thank
Did you have something to add, Ms Rayner, to my line of
Ms
questioning?
Muscat.
Oh, sorry.
No, actually,
I just need your...
Oh, my card. Sorry, apologies, Miss Muscat.
Thank you.
There we go.
sorry.
Actually, I just wanted to make a comment to a previous question that I wasn't able to get in on, so apologies about that. I'll be really quick. And it was just in response to a comment and question that Senator Carr made around whether there was an attitudinal change from management, but also about whether or not there was...
Sorry, yeah, a question from Senator Carr.
Yes.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, I just didn't get it. Okay, that's... what
Just
I will
stay
do,
at the table and I'll come to you. Just stay at the table.
Okay.
All right? And if you want to jump in on any of the other questions from senators, that's fine. Just stay there. Don't move. The blokes can shuffle themselves around. You don't have to move.
Do not move.
Senator Bridget.
Elbows out.
Okay.
Senator McKenzie.
Right, so we have significant impacts in rural and regional Australia, despite being promises from government that this regulation won't. So thank you very much for your evidence. If anyone has a copy of that definition document, please table it.
I believe it was a 1991 census document.
Great. Well, I'd love to have a look at it because that is absolutely outrageous. 30 years down the track. 3 decades down the track. All right. I have limited time, gentlemen and ladies, so I'd appreciate short, sharp answers so I can get through what I need to. One of the terms of reference, if you like, around the BCG review was that it was to look at e-commerce, the regulatory environment and changes in business and customers' needs. And now that's straight from the Minister's press release. I'm very concerned from an ABC report that basically said that you weren't doing perishable goods from March and they extended that to June. I'm interested in your views of whether Australia Post's decision to get out of perishable goods was related to some of the e-commerce findings of the BCG review.
We have a view, absolutely it does.
Tell me.
All of the cuts in Australia Post at the moment, whether it be related to the service cuts of the farmers not being able to send their perishable goods, or whether it be changing work hours, cutting back overtime, the amount of Sundays worked, not picking up mail on Sundays, are all related to the BCG report.
Do you know that, or is that a...
We don't know that, but it's very clear from the way since the BCG report has come out in the last couple of weeks, many things happening in Australia Post it is clear relevance to the BCG report. Were
either union consulted on the cuts to perishable goods?
No.
CPSU wasn't? No?
No.
No. Do you have
Sorry, Chair. In fact, we actually wrote to Australia Post and my colleague, Mr Rayner, got a response saying it's not a matter they need to talk to us about.
Right.
So you asked for consultation and you
Correct.
didn't get it? Okay.
Okay. Just in the few minutes I've got remaining to me, the new CEO, Paul Graham, from Woolworths, he's got a track record of rationalisation. Could you actually provide us with your views of where he may be focusing the organisation?
Probably difficult for me to comment, but what I would say is over the last 8 months we were negotiating an MOU with the organisation. One of the key focuses of the organisation at the time was not to provide our members any job security at all. So the CEPU were able to negotiate some protections for their workers in terms of maintaining jobs in the organisation over a period of time. We were unfortunately unsuccessful to do that. So our members' jobs are still very much at risk. We don't have an MOU that talks about job security or provides, that job security that is fundamental for our members and their jobs. So we are concerned that the new CEO may continue to promulgate that agenda and move towards the privatisation of Australia Post. And given the way that Australia Post has acted over the last 8 months, in particular with us and in terms of our members and their lack of, interest in providing our members tangible protections around their jobs, we are very nervous about what the future of Australia Post might look like.
Mm-hmm. Mr Murphy, do you have something to add to that?
I just support what Brooke said. We're concerned about the new appointment, although I will say that the new CEO has reached out to the divisional secretary, just had a short conversation. So we look forward to obviously meeting and greeting, but we do have some concerns similar to Senator McKenzie around some previous work life and what's happened in previous work life and in essence where this inquiry has learnt around reasons why Ms Holgate's departure and issues around that and resisting changes to what the government wants to do. We're concerned that this person may be brought in to implement what the government wants
And
to
just finally, do you think it's time to get rid of the temporary order and go back to business as usual for Australia Post and delivery of our parcels and letters?
In one word, absolutely. It has never been worse for our community or our people delivering. Many have left the job after years on the job through mental health issues simply because it has affected them not being able to deliver the products that their communities rely on, that they've always done for many, many years under the ADM.
Ms Muscat, sorry, just get the CPSU. 100%.
So can I jump on the back of that? I've done a survey, just to give you a snapshot of the coalface. I asked a simple question of, ended up being 70 people at our facility. Do you think that ADM is working? The results were 93% no and 7% yes, because they had motorcycles and smaller beats that they were happy with. Okay, but the majority of those even said they don't believe that the customer is getting the best service at the end of the day, and it has definitely gone backwards.
And just unequivocally across the board, this has detrimentally impacted rural and regional service delivery. 100%.
Everyone.
I'll just table this as evidence.
It's actually embarrassing.
It's not in my folder. That's 8 days of mail after Easter. Most recently, I thought this would be a relevant one.
Is that a rural and regional
This is tweeted
facility?
rural and regional, classified as rural and regional.
That was not supposed to be impacted by this order?
Well, originally it was Metro, but these regional towns have been caught up because of that census document.
Because we're using 30-year-old
Correct.
data.
Hang on.
Correct,
Sorry,
and
which
8
town
days. I
is
just
that?
want to table that. That's 8 days of product for that community
Sorry,
not
Mr
delivered.
Murphy, what town is that?
Tweed Heads.
Tweed Heads. And was that in the document on
No,
the folder?
that's
separate? You'd
separate.
like to table that
Yes.
separately? Can we have a copy of that? Thank you. Senator